guys, so today we're going to be working on this door. So if you see this right here, it's hitting right there, okay? If you can hear that, it's rubbing, okay? So if we look at the door, you can see this big gap right here and how it gets narrower over here, okay? So today, we're gonna fix that. Alright guys, so here's a close-up of that gap I was telling you about. You can see here where it's rubbing, and you can see how big this gap is and how narrow it gets as it goes over to the other side. So now here's the gap where it's rubbing, or a lack of a gap actually, on the actual handle side where it's hitting the door frame. Okay, so since it's rubbing up there and we have a bigger gap there, all we're going to have to do is adjust this hinge right here. So let's go ahead and get started. Alright guys, and this is everything that we're going to need: a punch, a hammer, and a pair of pliers. So let's take all this stuff and get started. Alright guys, so now that we have this pin out over here, you can see how these move. But the door is still rubbing. So because the gap is so bad over on this side and so bad over on this side, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take this one out too, because I think we're going to have to adjust both this one and this one to slide the whole door over this way to close this gap. Alright, so let's start taking this one off too. Alright guys, so now we got both pins out, and if I grab the door and put force on it this way to close this gap, so I pick up by the handle, go like this, it doesn't rub anymore. So now now that we know what we're gonna have to do is that we're gonna have to move these hinges over that way, right? So let's just zoom in on this right here. Alright guys, so let's take a look at this. Now that we got the pins out and the door closed, you can see that the gap is better. It's not rubbing, and it'll allow the door to close. And our top gap isn't as bad as it was before. Okay, so we're gonna come down and look at the top hinge, and you'll be able to see that it's misaligned. Okay, you've got the top one here with the middle one. Okay, those are attached to the door frame along with this bottom one, and the two middle ones are misaligned from that, which are attached to the door itself. So let's go look at the middle hinge that we took apart, and wow, that is way worse. Okay, so we've got a lot of realignment to do here, so let's go ahead and get started on that. Alright guys, so here we got a pair of pliers, and we're going to try and slide the 3 knuckles over that are on the door jamb to make them align more with the door. And you can see already that I'm putting dimples in the trim. So I don't think I have enough space. If the door's tilted the other way, I'd probably be able to do it. But I think since I'm not able to bend these very well because I'm hitting the trim, we might have to go to plan B. Alright guys, so plan B, we have it in the vise here. Okay, so we still need to move them with the pliers, and we need to move them this way. You can tell by the way I have it oriented here that we're going to be moving it the correct way towards the jamb. Alright guys, so here are my vice grips. We're going to go ahead and use these to grab onto the bracket here and to move these over towards the door jamb side. So we're just going to slowly bend these. I'm using the alignment pin to make sure that obviously everything is still aligned and the door will go back together. So we'll just move them until they all line up, and the pin goes in nice and easy, and then we are just going to go ahead and rinse and repeat for the other side since we're doing 2 of them. Alright, so we got the door back on, we got the hinges back on. Let's go ahead, put the pins back in, see how it looks. There it goes. So there's one pin. And you go already here with just the top pin in. Right? So, with just the top pin in, you open the door. There's no more rubbing. So, we're going to go ahead and we're going to put this in all the way. We'll put the bottom pin in. We'll be done. Alright guys, so we hammered them in. So now if you look, we have a door. Doesn't rub. There's no more rubbing sound. Look at that, we can just close it. Closes normal. Alright, job well done. Now just remember, the only reason I have to take my hinges off is because this molding was in the way, and when I was moving it with the pliers, I was cracking the molding and I didn't want to do that. So I took them off and took them to the vise. Now if you don't have a vise to do that with, then you can still do it on the door. You're just going to have to be more careful not to crush the molding, or your molding perhaps may be shaped different to where you won't have that interfere with bending it. So anyways, that's the basic premise of it. You can use that to fix your gaps around the door and keep your door from rubbing. Alright guys, see you on the next video.